Hello YouTube, MarinusTau the Ryuukei here, and since someone was asking if I could just generally give you an idea of what this game is about, I thought I'd do, well, I'll try to keep it short, a video about what is Sins of the Solar Empire, show you the game, show you the basic principles behind the game. And as such, we have the main menu here, and I'll go into single player. It's a tutorial which is very helpful as well, but just make a random small game. And here we have this, and so we've got the three factions, or the three races in essence, which are each split into two factions. We have the TEC. They are us humans, really. They have a huge economy, and that's what they're really good at, making money. And ship-wise, their ships are not the most warlike. In essence, the story goes that the Vasari, we'll get to them, suddenly appeared out of nowhere and started attacking the TEC, and they had no warships at all. It was more all trading ships, and as such, some of their capital ships are actually converted transports or colony ships that have been now armed to act as a defense. As such, they're the humans, TC, Trader Emergency Coalition, just a coalition of all different trading unions throughout the galaxy of the humans. They're split into the TC Loyalists and TC Rebels. Check out this playlist for the videos about them in more detail. Next we have the Advent. They are religious extremists that were expelled by the TEC, or the non-existing, the people who would later form the TEC, and were banished into space, and they never really liked that, and now they've returned to enact their revenge and to spread the unity. And the unity is just their belief is to just impose their religious beliefs on everyone. Their ships have high shields usually and are very beam based, and they have usually very powerful ships but also quite fragile ships, so can pack a punch but not take that much. TEC ships on the short side are quite all-rounders, fight a lot with autocannons and missiles. As such, also to mention is that the Advent fight a lot with psychological warfare. They're able to dominate other ships by taking over the minds of crews and such, scaring them into not doing anything, so on and so forth. And lastly, we have the Vasari, an alien race that appeared out of nowhere and has been fleeing from some unknown terror, quote. Sorry, I've been traveling for 10,000 years to escape some unknown terror. And they just happened upon the Trader Emergency Coalition and have now been fighting them. The Vasari are very warlike. What they excel in is extracting resources, while the TEC is more credits. The Vasari have a lot of resourcing abilities. They are also quite in combat quite dangerous because they use phase missiles, which are special in the sense that they can bypass shields and shield mitigation. I'll get into that later. And so we see shield mitigation plays a big factor inside this game, and if you can just completely bypass that, your ships just deal so much more damage, and that's one major tactic behind the Vasari that makes them a lot scarier. Otherwise, they have also very high-tech phase traveling methods, and so they're, the aliens with the cool technology. And the same with the Advent and the Vasari. Just check out the channel for more general about how the Loyalists and Rebels of each faction are different. And so for this video now, I'll just play as the Advent Rebels. This is Sins of the Solar Empire. This is maximum zoomed out. I don't really know any strategy game that is much bigger than Sins. On the big maps you can have up to 5-6 solar systems, and each of them can have over 10 planets, so you can really spread out. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send my scout ships to explore. Right click makes abilities on autocast, and so they'll just use them immediately. With scouts, if their explore means they'll just keep traveling from planet to planet. And so to give you a quick overview of the interface, at the top we have the Empire tree. Here you can click to search for special ships, different fleets you have selected, or planets that need upgrades, planets with artifacts, planets that have available logistics slots, or asteroids that don't have buildings on them. This is a cool implementation in Sins. Here on the left, this tree, it just keeps track of all your building station ships, planets, and especially when the game gets bigger later on, this is very useful to keep track of everything. I find it obtrusive at times when it gets too large, and then what I like to do, if you click on a planet and then you go to the pin here at the top, you can click and it's deleted, or same thing, just click on a planet and then it goes on like that. Another thing we have here is the stack, and what it does is ships or stations of the same kind are just stacked over each other to save space. I usually play like this. Down here at the top we've got the menu. Zoom to cruiser means cruiser just means you zoom where your mouse is, or you can shut it off and it'll just zoom to the center of the screen. I usually keep it on the mouse, it's easier to navigate. And lastly we have here this cinematic mode. It just hides the all these symbols around the stations. It's just because it's cool in battles or if you're making videos. It also hides all the gravity wells and phase lines. Next we have the diplomacy tree. As we see, the Vasari don't like me, but they don't really detest me. They're at 0, so we could try to be friends. Here are all your options of interacting with them, offering different treaties, offering them missions, giving them resources or credits, and if you were really good friends, offering pacts to them. Next is similar to diplomacy, just the relations. You can see why they don't like me. Diplomatic inclinations and racial inclinations. So the Vasari are racist, as we see. But pretty much everyone in this game is. Next we have the research tree, which is split into 6, sorry. They're called slightly different with each race, but in essence they're the same. At the top we have the military tech tree. You usually find all ship prototypes and improving weapons and shields here. Then we've got security, which is more defensive, tactical structures, and improving those tactical structures. There's also your mines. Harmony is just civilian research, trade stations, culture stations, and just all other upgrades that just reduce building times, for example, or decrease antimatter for phase jumps and stuff. Lastly, we have the diplomacy tech tree that influences how you interact with other people diplomatic wise. It allows you to offer them missions or to build ambassadors and stuff. Next we have fleet logistics, which is important. At the top we have how many capital ship crews you have, and at the moment I have 1 to begin with, and so I can have a max of 16 capital ship crews. It means I can have a max of 16 capital ships, obviously. That's one limitation for capital ships. The other one is fleet upkeep. Every ship needs upkeep. As we see, I have 100 right now. My 2 scouts need 4. And so down here I can research more and more upkeep, up to 75% fleet supply, up to 2,000. The thing is, the higher your fleet supply is, you also have to pay upkeep. As we see right here, my fleet upkeep is 0 right now. so I don't have to pay anything extra. If I start researching, I would have to put 9% of my credit income, metal income, and crystal income into supplying my fleet. Lastly, there are artifacts. These can be found on planets, and they just have overall bonuses for your entire civilization. Lastly, we have the underground. For one thing, we've got a market here, buying and selling metal. You can also set prices of buying and selling metal at which you want to sell. And so here we see the prices of metal and crystal right now. So if you sell your metal cheaper than the market, when people buy metal, when other players buy metal, they'll actually buy the metal from you and not from the market. And as such, it's an interesting way to make credits, or buying, losing credits in a way. Other thing we have here is the pirates, and here on the right you can set bounty on other players. So right now it's at 250 credits bounty on my opponent, and so when this timer runs out, the pirates will launch a raid against him, and that will hopefully cripple him in some way. So going on, at the top we have your capital ship, crews, fleet supply, my credit right now, and if you mouse over it, I see the credit income for each planet for later trade income. Same thing for metal income of each extractor, and crystal income. This little box here at the right can be hidden, but I like it to have it out. It's just buy metal and buy crystal, and sell metal, sell crystal on the market. Underneath, on the left, it usually shows the most wanted player, and then
has been depleted.
Being able to increase the bounty against one single player. At the bottom here at the left, we have 4 reports. Section planet reports. You see here planets discovered. Next is production reports. If a station is built, we'll actually start doing that now. I'll build civilian station,
planet has been discovered.
and one military and 1 civilian. And next, diplomatic reports that have to do with diplomacy, and next threat reports. So my scouts have been usually been threatened. Next we have health, allegiance, and exploration of the selected planet. And if you click on a structure here, we only have hull points, but let's see if I find a scout. Oops, no, where are my scouts? Ah,
a colonizable
there we go.
Has been discovered.
If you click on the scouts, you see here we have hull strength and shield strength, and the third bar would be antimatter, but the scouts don't have any antimatter. In the middle, it just shows what there is. You can double click on it and you'll get there. On capital ships, this arrow here, planets, you can rename your planet here, or your capital ships, increasing and decreasing game speed. Next we have autoplay structures. I usually use this because the game AI is actually smart enough to place things in good locations that they would be defended well. Example, it will place defensive turrets around your stations and not on the other side of the gravity well, where they would be useless. The button underneath is just a ping.
Construction finished.
I guess I don't really need it now that I'm playing by myself.
Construction
anyway, here on the right is the menus for the selected option. Here at the planet we have civilian infrastructure, meaning how much a planet's how much population a planet can support. And this is important because on planets that are just colonized, they actually have underdevelopment taxes. That means you lose money to them because they still need the money to work to keep the people alive. Next we have got emergency facilities. This is important when your planet is being bombed. It increases the total health that your planet, in essence, is building emergency bunkers on the planet to keep the population alive during bombardment. So if this planet is going to be attacked often, I would max out as emergency facility so it can survive bombardment long. Explore planet is to just explore the planet, see if there's anything cool. This planet's been 100% explored, there's nothing here, but on other planets this is how you would find artifacts there.
Construction finished.
Designate capital planet is, well, this is my capital planet, but if I had another one I could click this and then that planet would become my capital. And that has influences on its allegiance to you, its tax, it gets a tax rate bonus and metal and crystal income bonus. Next is its logistics capabilities. At the moment it's only upgraded once, that means I can support 18 logistics slots on this planet. Each station needs its each civilian station needs logistics slots, and so if I increase it I can build more stations here. Same thing for tactical capacity, it just increases tactical construction slots, but it's also important to know that the tactical capacity increases the number of construction ships in the gravity well. So if I usually, when I conquer a planet and I want to build everything real quick, I first do tactical capacity, because then I get multiple construction ships, so more can be built at the same time. Continuing, this is the build menu for all the civilian stations. On the left we have the 2 extractors. Then next 2 are the ship stations, ship construction, the frigate factory and the capital ship factory. Next, the 2 research stations, civilian and military at the top and civilian at the bottom. Next, trade ports, and after that Temple of the Communion. It's just the cultural station of the Advent. It's what spreads their culture. Next, at the top we have tactical structures. This is different for each faction, but in general they have 1 turret, 1 hangar defense. Then usually they have 1 repair platform. They all have repair platforms, sorry, and they have phase jump inhibitors, which increase the time for charging up for phase jumps, I think by 600%. And then the last 3 buildings are different for each faction. Well, this one, the Titan Foundry, only in appearance, otherwise they're the same. But the Deliverance Engine is the super weapon of the Advent. The TAC and Vasari have different super weapons, as well as this last Temple of Renewal. Each faction has a different special station there. Here on the right we can set a rally point somewhere in the gravity well, or on different gravity wells. And at the bottom, these are all the construction abilities. This is in general, these are just the summary of all the stations of the planet, but you could click on a station itself and construct there. But do here, so these are the capital ships. They can also usually, each race has a different ones, but they can all also be kind of generalized. It's 1 major combat ship, 1 ship for colonizing, 1 carrier ship, 1 fleet support ship. But this one seems, okay, this one seems more like their planet bombing ship. This seems more, well, it's hard to always group them into everything, but this one seems also kind of anti-ship. And the Discord battleship is also another common ship. I usually start out with the colonizing ship, because it saves me fleet supply and resources of building an extra colony frigate. Saying that, we're going to move on to the frigates. And they're also, each faction has different ones and different abilities, but they can all be categorized again into 1 scout ship on the left, with the colony ship underneath. Next comes a light frigate. Underneath it's the corvette of the faction. Then comes the long-range frigates, and these you have to watch out for. Massing these is always a good idea, because they usually have the highest damage output per second, and they have the nice big range, so they can always deal a lot of damage, especially the Advent vessels, which can target 3 vessels at the same time. Next comes the siege frigate. Their main task is bombing other planets. There are only frigates that are capable of bombing other planets, which is important to know. And last comes the
Unity senses a pirate raid is inevitable.
Defense vessel, as it's called here. It's the flak frigate. It defends. It's good against strike craft.
All shall join the
And next
Unity
we have
in
cruisers, which are also kind of general. It's usually you have one carrier cruiser, then two fleet support cruisers, which are different for each faction. Then you have one major combat cruiser. Then you have an anti-structure cruiser. And here at the bottom right we have the envoy, the ambassador for the factions. And the TC and Advent all the way on the right have the cruiser that constructs their star bases. The Vasari have a different, their star bases are constructed by their colony ships, so there you actually need to make them. So that was the interface. Next, just so how do you get metal and crystal? That's quite easy. You build extractors on these moons that are either metal or crystal moons. Here we've got a crystal moon. And so these have fixed extraction rates, which can then be improved by the allegiance of the planet or of like extra refineries and stuff. And so now we're gonna go colonize a ship.
Speak your mind.
Sorry, not a ship, a planet. This is just the menu of
Say no more.
a capital ship. Just to explain it, here in the top 4 will be abilities.
Speak your mind.
Underneath we can set its attack stance, so right clicking will change that. Non-auto attacking or all auto attacking, and if you click on it you can designate a target to attack. Next is stop. Next is left clicking will give you ability to tell it to go somewhere, same as just right clicking anywhere. Or if you right click on it, if the ship is inside a fleet, it will give the fleet either the command to make a simultaneous phase jump or to do single phase jumps. Next is tactics management. This is more important when you're inside a fleet, creating fleets and then setting engagement range inside the gravity well, where here you would have how close the fleet is supposed to stay with it, near to each other. Squadron management is where you can manage your strike craft. There's 2 types, fighters and bombers. Fighters are good versus bombers, long-range frigates and siege frigates, while bombers are good against heavy cruiser structures and capital ships.
Stand by for phase jump.
And above we have the ability menu, which with the 4 abilities that each capital ship have, and the ability to train the capital ship crew. This is only limited to 2 levels, though you can research it higher to be up to a level of 4 with
Our
some
fleet
races,
has
I believe.
arrived.
And so here we've got a dwarf planet. All planets are defended by local militias, small planets by small militias, big valuable planets by stronger militias. And so first thing you have to do is take out the siege frigate, or else it'll just bomb your planet after you've colonized it. And
Your time has come.
and then you don't really have to destroy the rest of the militia. If you don't want to start building on the planet immediately, an interesting tactic is just to destroy the siege frigates, colonize the planet and leave, because then the militia will defend the planet against any invading forces, even if the planet is yours. So as long as you leave them alone, they'll protect your planet for you. Anyway, at the same time I'm going to start researching now. We'll need another station. Go logistics slot and build another 2. Not hostility, harmony.
Is it time?
Ships have their weapons placed at different places. Well, naturally so. As the progenitor has its weapons on 2 sides, I'm going to put it between the 2 ships so its batteries on both sides can open fire at the same time. Let's see here now. And so now that we have 3 research stations, I can make start researching unity, indoctrination, and interplanetary trade, which will let me show you 2 more aspects, important aspects of the game. Now we're gonna colonize a planet.
Say no more. Another planet joins the Unity.
And there we go. No, a new planet. allegiance of 90% because it's not my capital planet. My capital has 100%. This allegiance can be increased by spreading my culture at this planet, or can be decreased by enemies by spreading their culture there. And so if the allegiance of a planet reaches 0, you actually lose the planet. And now as we're talking here, general info about the planet, we see it's a dwarf planet, has a 90% allegiance, its planet health is growing right now, it has a population of 10, and we see there's a red tax income rate. That means I'm losing 1.5 credits per second. That's what that was, the under development tax I was talking of. So going into civilian infrastructure now, and so dwarf planet can't have a huge population, max population of 50, but now tax income will increase slowly with time as well. And so also the amount of taxes you get from the planet will increase too. We're going to build a metal and crystal extractors.
Is it time?
And now we're going to wait for the research to finish. Okay, they're done. So I'm going to build a trade port here and a temple of communion. And on my other planet I'm going to make trade port 2. And now I'll show you, these are the last two things I'm going to show you now. Another big way of producing credits in this game besides taxes is with trade. And to trade you need to make trade ports or star bases. They can also have trading bays, and so then they double as trading ports as well. And that's being constructed. And the other important thing is culture in this game. You spread culture with your your capital ships can repel culture, but your culture stations spread culture, and this increases the overall allegiance of planets, increasing tax rate, extraction rate of your asteroids, and later if you research it, it also gives bonuses to your ships if they're fighting inside it. So my ships, if I research it all the way, would get I think 6 shield mitigation bonus and
Construction finished.
I think 20% phase missile block, so that's very useful. And so we'll just let these two stations work their magic while I can explain something real quick. For shields, as we see here, we have the information of the progenitor, hull, shields, antimatter, its armor, shield mitigation, the experience of this capital ship, the culture repel rate, its general information about its squadrons, its abilities, and its average damage. Now if you see the shield mitigation right now, it's at 15%. That means the shields of the ship will absorb 15% of the damage that's taken by the ship. That means any damage done to the ship is actually only 85%, even the damage that is damaging the shields. The more damage a ship takes, the higher the shield mitigation gets, up to, I think the max I've seen was 60, 75%, I don't remember exactly. That means a ship that's being heavily damaged will get even higher and higher shield mitigation, up to a point that it's like its shield mitigation absorbing 3/4 of the damage it's taking, so only 1/4 of the damage is actually damaging the ship. Shield mitigation even works when there are no more shield points left, so this is where the Advent shine. They have large shield mitigations, and so their ships absorb damage that otherwise they would have no problem, that would otherwise damage them. And that's where the danger phase missiles comes. It just goes through shield mitigations, dealing the full damage. That's the scary thing about phase missiles. And so now if we zoom out, for one thing, we already see how big the map is getting. Well, not very big, but still. These purple lines here mark my culture as it's spreading now from my station. We see already my planet here has 93 allegiance, and if these were enemy planets, their allegiance would now slowly go down. And we have my trade port here, and I see trading drones going back and forth. And if we go over credits, see the longest trading route here is between my capital planet and my dwarf planet, and we also see the trade port income. The longer a trading route is, the more income it generates, and so that is another important aspect.
Is inevitable.
So I hope that gave you a general idea of this game. I hope it wasn't too long. Yeah, subscribe, check out my channel for more information about the factions, and I hope you get this game. It's really nice. See you around.